Okay, we will get going. Thank you everyone for joining me today. My name is Kristen Shantz. I'm the VP of Growth Marketing here at Hierology, and I'm excited to host our next installment of our latest Quick Hit series. If you have never joined a Quick Hit series before, these are quarterly series that we are trying to provide of short, digestible webinars that cover a specific theme. We know your time is valuable and want to give it to you in bite-sized content. This quarter, we've really decided to focus on all things attracting and hiring talent in the hospitality industry, one of the industries most impacted by COVID and experiencing the shortage of talent today. And for today's webinar, we're going to touch on recruitment marketing specific to hotels and travel. So far in this series, we've covered the different channels you need to use to reach job seekers and even how to enhance the hiring experience to keep candidates engaged. But today, we want to touch on specific techniques you can use to really sell your organization to job seekers who may be considering dozens of other opportunities for work. It's super timely. I just got back from a trade show, the International Franchising Association, and I can tell you, every single person I talk to, from hoteliers to franchise owners to franchisees, are talking about this and this important issue. So I'm excited to share some content and best practices with you today. So let's get started. There we go. So first, I want to take a minute to cover what's happening in the landscape. It's really important to give ourselves rooted in the issue. This will be some baseline information we've covered in the last two quick hits, so it may be repetitive for some of you, but it's important to touch on anyone new to this series to lay this groundwork. Also, I'll tie back to why recruitment marketing can really help us tackle some of these issues. So let's focus here. In general, across all industries, we're currently facing an unprecedented labor shortage. I'm sick of saying the word unprecedented, but there's no better way to describe this labor issue today. As of December, the Wall Street Journal estimated that there are 2 unemployed job seekers for every 3 open jobs. This means that you're not just competing with other hotels for talent, you're competing across all industries, from retail to tech, to retail automotive, to healthcare, to more. And people have so many options for work that they can be extremely selective in where they apply and which jobs they take. And in some cases, if you're looking for skilled labor or people with a history in this, it's gotten even harder. And so this stat is really important as we talk about what we're facing today. Hierology actually did a recent study that we found 45% of today's job seekers are actually applying to more than 10 jobs. So let's rest there for a second. That means that when you are talking to a candidate, whether it be for housekeeping, front desk, general manager, etc., even for your restaurant work, they are talking to 9 other companies for that job. That'd be like if you were dating someone and they were dating 9 other people. So it's a competitive market. No one wants to be one of 10, but that's what we're up against in this applicant-focused market and this applicant-driven economy. Now, the hospitality industry faces more challenges and more of an upsell battle. I'm not trying to paint a bleak picture, but it's really important to know why we think that approaching recruiting like marketing is so critical. According to our friends at EMSI, who keep a good pulse on the total job market together, jobs in the hospitality industry and adjacent markets have increased significantly in the last year. More than any other industry, openings for hotel desk clerks and waiters and waitresses are up 80% from a year ago, and baggage porters and bellhops are up more than 180%. Now you're going to say, Kristen, duh, a year ago we were still, the first 12 months of COVID, a lot of us weren't open or experiencing this. But this is, that's going to happen. A lot of you were forced to furlough people or put people on the back burner. And a lot of those folks who left the market are now exploring other career opportunities or choosing to remain outside of the workforce permanently. So why this is important is kind of looking at it year over year is saying, hey, it's increased this much, but it doesn't mean that the talent pool has increased and that people are willing to come back to hotels and the travel industry because they had to go find work. They had to go do other things. And oh, by the way, there's 3 jobs to every 2 people. It's a competitive applicant-driven market. Now, looking at month over month numbers, it's actually negative. Now, we look at this from a seasonality standpoint. Omicron reared its ugly head from January to February. And so people are having a hard time in this, but this will change fast. And I talked to a couple of people who own some properties on the West Coast. They're already starting to see this and having to staff up appropriately for some seasonality. This discussion is important now because you need to take some time to assess, do I have the right people? Do I know what my sourcing strategy is? Am I prepared to hire quickly? And if it's this competitive a market, can I afford to wait to the minute that I know that I need someone? How do I get this going as fast as possible? So we'll talk a little bit about what's that. So with all of that data, not to play a bleak picture, we're going to talk about why recruitment marketing can be helpful and why it matters. Think of recruitment marketing as just regular marketing. This is why I'm here to talk to you today. I've been a marketer for majority of my career. It's the practice of promoting, marketing, and selling your open roles like you would your hotel experience. You want to advertise what rooms you have available, what kind of food delivery you'll have, what kind of things. Jobs are like products, and your product is your property, and it must be retailed, is the way we describe it here at Hierology. You can't just expect people to know what your story is. So when marketing your hotel, you're going to highlight what makes it a better place to stay than another hotel down the street, whether it's your services, your amenities, your pricing, the views you have, etc. You need to do the same with your jobs and your company as an employer. If options are in favor of the applicant, you need to advertise, and that's an important word, advertise what's available to them. Maybe you offer better benefits, some flexibility than your competitors. Maybe you offer greater work-life balance within that flexibility. Maybe there's career growth opportunities. Who started in housekeeping and now is a front desk manager? Who started in housekeeping and is now one of your general managers? There's so many stories. I heard a great one this past weekend where someone started as a valet and is now running someone's food and beverage department. That's an incredible story. Are you telling that? Are you advertising that? Whatever it is, you have to sell it. And this new job market coming out of COVID, people want to know what's in it for them. And we need to be really, really clear about that so that they spend time looking at you, and you need to advertise that, especially given the competition you're against. The other aspect of this to think about is channels. As a marketer, I'm constantly looking at, is email doing better than events? Is events doing better than paid advertising? Where am I spending my time, my money, putting my team on it? And so I guarantee if you talk to your brand or your marketing team at your property, you have to figure out what's working. So you have to figure out what audience is looking at what channels and how much time are they spending there. So for job seekers, are they really going to the job boards every day? Are they looking at social media? How do you get in front of them? Are they looking at career sites? How do you pull them in? Are they talking to their friends and figuring out, hey, this employee works at this property, I want to go work with them. We'll dig in further about how you can start to assess that, but it's really important to say, hey, marketers really think about the story that they tell and how they put the megaphone behind that story. And I should use the same practices of what's my employment story and how do I put a megaphone behind that to reach new job seekers. So I hinted at this a little earlier with our hiring landscape overview, but why is this important now? Why is it urgent now? You may say, hey, I'm running at 10% capacity, Kristen. I don't need to worry about this today. I've heard that from a lot of hotels in the Midwest who are just not there yet, but seasonal upswings are coming, and spring break for a lot of the southern states and a lot of the vacation states, and then summer tourist season is coming fast and furious. You may be actually seeing downswing in demand right now because coming off of Omicron or things like that. But as someone who's been on the road a good portion of this quarter for trade shows, it's coming back, and it's coming back quickly. And the biggest thing I heard at this past conference this weekend is how much time it's taking to train people. So you need to back out of, hey, if I want to be fully staffed by June 1st, how much time do I need to onboard and train to be prepared to deliver that amazing experience when I have these seasonal upswings? You can't start thinking about your recruitment marketing and how you're going to get job seekers interested in you the day you decide that you needed a second bellhop. You need to do that well in advance, and you need to plan it. And that's a really hard thing to do because of how much time a lot of you don't have, but it's important to look at. Now, thank God we're kind of, knock on wood here, hopefully past some of these Omicron cases and the peak we saw there, but that means people are even more ready than they were before. I think I spent some time in Arizona in the fall, and they were starting to see some swings because, man, people were ready to get out of their houses and have that disposable income. That's coming. So major cities are lifting mandates. Chicago lifted our mask mandate. I know Vegas did the same. It's coming very fast. And then finally, if you are not ahead of this, you're going to find yourself unable to keep up with demand. Maybe rooms go unbooked because you just can't turn them fast enough because of housekeeping staff. Maybe you have to reduce your hours. There's nothing sadder to me that a restaurant can only be open Wednesday through Saturday because they're not staffed appropriately. Or you're going to have to close certain parts of your property completely, which means you're missing out on revenue. There's nothing more frustrating. I talked to a big restaurant group owner this past weekend, owns a bunch of franchises. And he said there's nothing more frustrating to him right now is he sees the potential of revenue that he can be making at a location basis, and he can't do it. And it's just because he can't be staffed. He has his food. He's solved his logistics problems. Masks aren't an issue anymore. People are ready to come to his restaurants, and he can't stay open, and he can't fill every table that he has in the space. And that's so frustrating. And you don't want that to happen. And then you don't want it to impact your guest experience, because we all know that you're selling an experience, and that translates really importantly. So let's make sure that we are thinking ahead. And this is where recruitment marketing really comes in to play. Good marketers always plan 6 to 9 months in advance. And so taking those processes and taking those practice in play, you'll be able to staff appropriately. So now that I've kind of laid the great groundwork of the market that we're in, why this is important, let's talk about what you need to do to enhance your recruitment strategy. I'm going to spend the rest of this time covering different techniques you can add to your toolkit and show some real life examples of these techniques in action. It's always important. Good marketers, again, secret shop, and you should be doing the same. First and foremost is your career site. Now, I know many of you may not have control of your broader brand's career site or the brand itself, but if you do, it's important to really consider what information you're including on your site and how you're showcasing it. This is really the hub of your recruitment marketing efforts. Any content or advertising you distribute will ultimately bring people to the site, which means often your potential employees' first exposure to your organization. So you need to get it right. Great career sites typically include the following: the company's story, its history, any uniques about you. Are you family owned? Is it bootstrapped? Anything unique that makes your company admirable should be featured. What kind of intern programs you have, etc. Next, highlight the benefits. This includes the tangible benefits like healthcare and competitive pay, but also make sure to know that you offer terms of career growth, work-life balance, culture. Are you a property that offers employees of a certain tenure weeks at other properties within your network? That's important to look at. Those are things that are going to set you apart from someone else. And then be sure that job seekers aren't only hearing about your company through you. Feature testimonials from your existing employees. It's something that Hireology, we spend a lot of time talking about, even doing spotlight series right now, to make sure people know, hey, don't listen to me, the corporate marketer. Listen to the individual in the seat who chose to work here, who's spending their time here, giving their time. Who you work with is really important. And so use those employees as your best marketing and your best megaphone. Of course, include any awards that you won for being a great workplace and employer. And then finally, as well, highlight any sort of volunteer opportunities you offer. Job seekers like to see you have a presence in the community and that you prioritize giving back. Especially now, given what's going on in the world, people want to know who's paying attention to their community. And those things are really starting to set people apart. The priorities of job seekers had 2 years ago, pre-COVID, have completely flipped. It used to be pay first. And a lot of it now is flexibility. Is it a good place to work? Are they giving back to places? Really pay attention to those things. And finally, break it up, all the text with images and other videos of your team in action. I know it's really hard to take the time to do this, but get on your phone. Phones are better than these professional cameras these days. Take pictures of what it's like to work at your property and how nice it is and how great it is and how happy people are. Those are things that people are going to see themselves in and want to participate in. So here's some examples from hospitality career sites that show exactly what I just talked about. They have some testimonials, they show career path, they highlight their benefits. This is Hilton and Hyatt, but there's a story to be told here. Here, I can start my career path. I can do these things. there's things that talk about, hey, we're invested in you. Here's what happens with your career. Here's what happens with your well-being. Here's what we're, taking the time. And then I love this quote from Peggy here, the Director of Learning and Development, about, why it's important and what sets it apart at Hyatt. And I know that's why they're an important employer of choice for a lot of individuals. In addition to your career site, how do you get people to it? Use social media as a sort of extension of your career site. Amplify your message and get in front of more people. So in addition to using LinkedIn, which I think a lot of us are going to from a job seeker standpoint, Facebook and Instagram, use those to share your jobs organically. Are you talking about it? Are you highlighting key employment days? Use these sites to feature things like employee testimonials on your career site, maybe even feature an employee of the month. I know a lot of you have those programs. How are you bringing that experience online and showcasing it to other people? And then post images and videos and regularly remind folks what benefits you offer. If it's a mental health day, Hierology has that on a monthly basis, highlight that, talk about it. Are you doing things to support DEI? Next Tuesday, it's International Women's Day. We're going to be doing something for that at Hierology ourselves. Highlight that, put that on social media, talk about it. Small plug or a heads up for some of you who may want to put this in action this week. Friday is National Employees Appreciation Day. Is there something you can do on social media to start to build this pipeline for yourselves? And then, of course, encourage your existing employees to like and share your posts. They're going to be your best recruiters. Word of mouth is the best source of marketing these days. Empower them to do that. The more engagement that they can do it, the more you're going to get people looking at your career site, looking at your open positions and deciding you're the employer that they choose to work for instead of the other 9 that they're talking to. So here are some great examples from hospitality groups. Don't trust me and don't look at me. I highly recommend looking at Hierology's Instagram as an example, but here are some other things. Hilton has done this. Fairmont is doing some employee appreciation. Four Seasons is known to do this in a massive way. These are people who keep people within the brands and within the family for a really long time. And I know they're mammoth, but this can be applied at every individual location. I talked to a Stanley Steamer franchisee this weekend, and he's doing a lot of this stuff and he's seeing great retention and great recruitment. And so this applies to a lot of brands. Highlight it, use TikTok, celebrating events. I know now bartender days coming up. How do you highlight that at your property? Pay attention to those things and look for those opportunities. But next, it's important, you have your career site, you have your social media driving it to it. What does the ad look like? If you think about a job description, it's basically an advertisement. Think of, they should sell what you're offering job seekers. Do you talk about, you talked about it at a global scale. Here's what we do as an employer. What's about this job? At Hierology, we typically advise customers to follow a standard formula when writing job descriptions. Start with the job summary. No one wants to have to scroll and take too much time. It should be super easy at the top. It should be 2 short sentences about what the job is, what type of person it takes. It's important to start here because typically this is all that will show up when it sees your on it, and whether it's searching on Google or somewhere else. It's important to keep this short and sweet and super clear. From there, dive right into those benefits, both tangible and intangible. Anything that employees gain from working for you. Hey, faster career growth, equity, more vacation days. We cover your healthcare benefits on day 1. Whatever it may be, everyone has a unique story. Be sure to talk about it. Then you can go deeper into the responsibilities and requirements of the role, schooling, years of experience, etc. Then next, you can give a deeper description of what your company does, whereas the intro blurb was more about the role. This can be more about you as an organization. And then finally, last but not least, include an equal opportunity statement. This is some where you can commit to non-discriminatory employment. It's not only is including an EEO good practice, but it also ensures your job descriptions get maximum visibility. There's a lot that goes into employment policy related to this. So just to summarize again, start with the job and what kind of person it is in a 2-person summary, and then put the details behind it. Really advertise why it's important, what they get out of it, and then go into everything else. I think so long we've started with here's what the company is, etc. Really lead into this. Now, here's a great example of a job description from a Hierology customer listed, using our template. You'll see it starts with a quick blurb, so job seekers can tell right away the role is for them, and then gives a list of benefits, including things like vacation, actual pay rate, discounts, and more. Then you'll see the responsibilities, qualifications, and the EEO statement to follow. This is an ad. It is an ad for this job. Are you ready to embark on an exciting hotel career at Castle of Nashua Radisson? That's an ad. That's a job description. Think about it. Talk to your marketing team. See if they can help you. And quite honestly, secret shopping is a great place to get ideas for this. Go online, see what other hoteliers are advertising in your market. Look at what your peer set is doing. Also look at the food and beverage, look at restaurants and see what they're advertising, or other industries you may be losing people to. Look at that and see if you can get competitive and have fun with these job descriptions. Now, another key aspect of recruitment marketing that you may have overlooked is organic search. Given how many people are recruiting right now and how many jobs there are open, it's a competitive market. So you need to look at how you're organically being found. Much like consumers do when searching for a hotel, most are starting today with Google. It's no longer going to a job board. They're starting on Google. They're starting with hotel jobs, Chicago. They're starting with bartender jobs, Charlotte, whatever it may be. So it's really important to show up in these searches. Plus Google is they're no dummies. They've capitalized on this by creating its own job board itself, which Hireology plugs into. It just relies on an algorithm to find jobs that fit certain search criteria. You'll see an example of this on the right. So how can you boost your search ranking? By following simple SEO best practices with your job descriptions. So first, keep your titles between 1 to 3 words. I saw a title the other day that was like, 25 words. They're never getting searched and they've already buried themselves. Use titles like front desk coordinator, competitive pay. That may seem like it attracts more people, but it actually looks at it as spam. It looks at it as kind of a false promise. So say, front desk coordinator. Use bullet points and subheads to break up the text. Google tends to favor readability. Keep the word count between 300 and 800 words, the ideal range for Google. Now, that's really hard to do, but word count exists at 300 to 800 words. If you can't get your story across, then it's not an ad. It's a, old way of doing a job description. Make it short and sweet. Put yourself in the mind of the target job seeker and try to understand what they'd be searching for when looking for a job. Make sure these keywords are in your job description and especially included in the subheaders. Remember that the job title itself is also a keyword. So try to include the job title throughout the copy a few times in a way that feels natural. What's interesting, an interesting tidbit coming from this conference is I heard from a location of a franchisor of roofing companies that they actually have a survey when someone starts to say, hey, what in the job description or what on our career site got you to apply? And that's the way that they're constantly evolving and constantly taking care of their employment brand and really, really looking at recruitment marketing. How many of you have gotten a survey when you've bought something from Amazon or something on it to say, hey, how did you find out about us? That's a really important practice if you have the time and energy to do so. So in addition to SEO, you want to consider more traditional advertising techniques, both digital and physical. Again, you post ads online and print and physically in your community for your hotel. Why not do the same for your open roles? When it comes to writing and designing your ads, follow the same best practices as your job descriptions. Of course, your word count is much less, so you'll have to prioritize the most important selling points. But either way, it's important to focus on what makes you stand out the most. If you're thinking about physical signage, consider putting these signs in the high traffic areas and again, including what stands out for the most for your roles. Maybe it's the hourly pay or the vacation time. For those of you looking to hire seasonal work, putting that where there's young talent coming out of colleges or schools, now that they're back on campuses, really looking at that. And then finally, think about paying to play on key job boards. Sites like Indeed are incredibly crowded and competitive organically, but there are always ways to cut through the noise by paying for ads. Now you need to manage this budget and understand what applicants and hires are coming from there. I'm not saying to like cash on fire, as we have said in the board, but there's an important investment that you can make and you need to be sure that you're measuring it and looking at it. And let's dig into an example of what this could look like. Here's an example of an Indeed search result. On the left-hand side, you'll see the organic results, but on the right-hand side in red, you'll see the paid ad. This stays in place even as you scroll through the organic ads on the left, ensuring maximum visibility. Of course, this can get expensive fast. So again, start small and track that ROI. I very rarely will go 0 to 60, as I like to say, on paid ads for Hierology. We start small, we test it, we see kind of the reaction, the impressions, the clicks that we're getting, and then make some bets and some decisions based on that. If it seems to be working and driving real hires, not just applicants, you want people who are actually of quality, then it's a good idea to continue to put in recruitment dollars there. The best recruiters that we work with are those who are paying attention to this on a weekly, monthly basis and are making decisions and making adjustments and not keeping it at a flat rate. And finally, creating a presence for yourself in the community is a great way to build your reputation as an employer over time. Getting involved with local high schools and community colleges, whether it's speaking at career fairs or mentoring potentially interested students. This just gets your name out there as a great employer, not only among young people, but also among their teachers and mentors who continuously recommend you as a place to go for employment. You can also attend both virtual and in-person job fairs in the community and even form relations with community groups and leaders. This is a great way to reach a more diverse audience too. We have a great Hierology, for example, has a great relationship with our local LGBTQ community and participate in their regular job fairs. And that does help our presence in the community. There are ways to do this. And it's not just about filling those open jobs. It's about getting your brand out there. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of companies I know that are starting to partner with like-minded other, what would be considered competitors, to really get, hey, hospitality is an industry you should pick coming out of COVID as a place to work. And then on top of that, you should pick my hotel. But you need to start building those brands and start getting awareness out there so that people know to look for you as an employer of choice. So, that was quick and our quick hit series. So to summarize, recruiting and hiring is a huge challenge for hotels today. You're going to be like, duh, thanks for telling me the obvious. But, across all industries, it's because of one critical thing. There are 3 job openings for every 2 job seekers built in the, but in your industry outside of this, some roles have 80% more openings now than they did 1 year ago. So you're experiencing that much more of a supply demand issue. And this is ahead of seasonal upswings. We're going to see that coming very fast, mask mandates going away, travel picking back up. So now is the time that you should be looking at this. Don't wait until it's too late in May and June to start thinking about how are you going to staff up, how are you going to be ready. You need to start thinking about your recruiting and your recruitment marketing efforts today so you can start marketing those open roles like you do your property. You wouldn't wait to start booking and marketing for a July 4th kind of special. You'd start thinking about that now. People start planning ahead. So you need to do that. You need to think about your career site. You need to rework your job descriptions. You need to consider different kinds of advertising. You need to talk to your employees about how they can get the word out, whether it be social media referral programs. And no matter what tactics you choose, always remember to focus your messaging on what's in it for the candidate. It's tough out there and it's not going to change anytime soon. But I know if you even just take a little bit of these steps that we talked about today and really, really think about your recruiting as recruitment marketing and retailing your jobs like you do your hotel, you'll already be a step ahead of the competition. And with that, I will close this out right on time of our quick hit series, our 3rd installment. If you have any questions or want to speak to us one-on-one, please reach out to us at info@hierology.com or just visit us on the website at hierology.com to see the rest of this quick hit series. And with that, I'll say good luck on the month of March. And thanks for spending time with us today.